Thanks for the clap. The worst thing about going last today is that I've watched everyone else's speeches and talks and just thought, crap, this is mine, scribbled on one piece of paper. So I will start by telling you what I do and how it all started and why it's special to me, and then I'll leave you to ask questions because you probably want to know things that I don't know you want to know. So that is what makes sense, and that is what we'll do. Okay, so I have a YouTube channel called Sprinkle of Glitter. I presume everybody knows what YouTube is. Is there anyone that really doesn't? Everyone's too scared to put their hands up. I'm looking at all the dads. And my channel started off as a beauty and lifestyle channel where I talked about beauty products that I had bought and liked and which ones I thought were worth it and which ones I thought perhaps weren't worth it, and also shopping and fashion. So it was a girl's dream. It was basically go shopping and then go, so I bought this and this is quite nice, and I bought this because it's really great for your skin and all that kind of stuff. And then this was in 2010, by the way, so this was back when YouTube was a lot smaller than it is now and it wasn't quite so mainstream. And at first I was doing it kind of for myself. I had a really crappy old laptop that had a really crappy webcam, and I would sit on my bed and upturn my laundry bin and then put my laptop on top of that and then just talk into that. And nobody watched except me, and I would ring my dad who sat there and make my dad watch as well and then force my friends to watch. And I remember once, it was 2 weeks in, and I don't know if you remember this, Dad, but I rang him and I was like, you know that video I put on YouTube, 50 people have watched, 50 people, and I was so excited that 50 people had watched. And after a couple of months, one person commented, and she was called Kathy, and I had watched so many other people build their own YouTube communities that when I had this one person watch, I was like, when she commented, I was like, that's it, I've got a community, it's me and Kathy, we're off, let's go on our adventure. Ironically, I've never met Kathy, she lives in Germany, but if I do, I will say you were my first Sprinklerino, which is what I call the people that watch because my channel's called Sprinkle of Glitter. So after a year, in 2011, I joined the YouTube Partnership Programme, which is run by Google, who own YouTube. And that way, you know when you see the little ads on videos, that creates a small revenue for me. So I joined that, and I was like, wow, now I'm making money from this thing. And I was doing this alongside my full-time office job, which was potentially the most boring office job I've ever had in my whole life. This was the criteria: answer the phone, open the door. That was it. So I had plenty of time to Skype off work and plan YouTube videos, which was fantastic. And then in 2011, I fell pregnant, and I had maternity leave, and I was like, well, I'm bored and pregnant, so I can't move very far. I'll make more YouTube videos. I did that, it kept growing and growing, and eventually it got to a point where I didn't have to go back to work and put my daughter in nursery because YouTube was my thing. So that's pretty much the black and white of it. But why is this so special to me? And the reason is it's because it's the connection. Whilst it's fun to be creative and make these videos and make the content, that you can literally dream an idea and be like, yeah, I'm going to make it, and you just do it yourself. You don't need to answer to anyone, you don't need to ask permission, unless it's obviously in the grounds of good taste, and you can just run with your idea, run free with it, and that was so exciting to me. And what was even more exciting was that people, by this point, a lot of people were watching and communicating back and saying, I'd love to see you talk about such and such, or I would like to see you talk about fashion for the plus-size woman, or I'd like to see how you do your eye makeup and all that kind of stuff. So with that feedback, it only inspired me to go further. And it got to a point where I thought, I've reached a limit of how far I want to go with talking about clothes and makeup and that kind of stuff. And I want to do something that will help all these people, because I thought, I've got this audience, I should be using this for something more than just fashion or just beauty. And so I started to talk a bit more about my life, and I found that it had a real impact on the younger people that were watching, the demographic that was age 13 to 17, because I feel like I understand young people because I remember acutely being one. And let's face it, no offense parents, being a teenager can be really crap because you're not a child, so you can't be childish, and your parents go, don't be so childish, but you're not an adult. So it's really difficult to find that balance. And I remember things like my dad would say to me, just being really dramatic, and I thought, I'm not being dramatic, this is genuinely how strongly I feel about things. Well, you're laughing because you do it too, and I bet there's parents who go, you're being melodramatic about something. You're like, no, I'm not. This is really how I feel. And I know that, and I feel like I can connect with you and say, yes, that is how you feel, and things might be difficult. You might be suffering from low self-esteem. There might be bullies at school. You might be fancying someone and you don't know what to do about it. But things get better and you hit your 20s and everything gets really good, so hang on in there. And so I started making these videos about being happy because I'm one of those people that's just sickeningly happy most of the time. And that's when the real impact hit. For example, I made a video called Being Happy, and I literally wrote down some notes while I was in the hairdresser on my phone of like stuff I do to be happy. I made this video, it's like 20 minutes long. I'm sat in my daughter's bedroom with like all her toys in the background, just rambling on, much like now, and put it out there, and lots of people like had thousands of messages. I was like, that's cool, great, woohoo. But messages you can't touch, you can't see, you can just sort of read them and go, yeah, wow, cool. But I was in Morrison's about 6 months ago, and there was an employee there who looked to be in her late teens, early 20s, and she came up to me and said, you're Louise, aren't you? I was like, the one and only, that's me. And she said, I have to tell you, I watched your Being Happy video last year, and I was at a really low point in my life, and I decided that I didn't really want to continue with my life anymore. This makes me like choked up to think about it. And I watched your Being Happy video and saw there were some tips in there, and I thought, I'll try those tips for a week, and then I'll make my mind up. And she tried the tips, and she's still alive. So that's really cool. That makes me like choked up to think, like, that's the effect that YouTube can have on the internet, on people, So this like non-tangible, no one can touch YouTube. You can't like touch that. That's just a thing that you can see that's made up of like, I don't know, gigabytes and pixels and stuff, isn't it? It's made of something that you can't touch. And it's done on these machines, computers, robots, like electronic stuff. But the effect you can have on people's lives is infinite. You don't know what effect you can have on people's lives by using these tools. And that's what excites me about it, because the more it grows, the more my like glittery community grows, and the more people, hopefully, are being positively affected to make better choices in their lives, to have more positive attitudes, to like reach for their dreams, to achieve things, and to do the things they want to do. So it's exciting to think that YouTube is a tool that can do that for the world. And if more people did that, or more people watched, tell your friends about my channel, then the world will be a much happier place, and happy people create amazing things. People with high self-esteem and good confidence do amazing things. And if we're all feeling like, let's just say we all feel like 5 points better about ourselves, what will we create? And the impact of billions of people creating amazing things makes for a pretty exciting world, I think, anyway. And that's pretty much me. I don't know why I'm clapping.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, I wanted to just ask you a few more questions while I've got you up here. First of all, how big is your community of sprinklerinos? I can't even say it.
At the moment, I've got 2 channels, so Sprinkle of Glitter and Sprinkle of Chatter, and that's 1 million now subscribers.
Wow.
But across both channels, I think, and my dad had to tell me this morning because I don't keep an eye on my figures like he does, it's at 36 million views.
Right, okay, good.
Nice.
Which video has been your biggest hit, and can you describe it for us?
Yeah, my video that's been my biggest hit is the one that is not to do with the genre of my channel, as in like beauty and lifestyle. Well, I suppose it is. It's my Draw My Life. So I basically told my life story in 5 minutes, drawing it on a whiteboard sped up with a voiceover. And that's near at 1 million views, which is really cool, especially as I made it in 1 day.
Now, am I right in thinking you actually studied psychology?
Yeah, I did psychology and biology at uni.
What happened?
Well, our family would not have thought like the unschooling guy. Dad, I didn't have the choice. I didn't think, what shall I do apart from uni? It was just, where shall I go? So I just went and did psychology and biology because it interested me, and because my original plan was to be a psychotherapist, because I like to hear people's problems. That sounds a bit like sadistic, doesn't it? But I like to like hear from people and talk to people. So that was my plan, and then to be a counsellor. And then 1 year after, I did a postgraduate course in counselling and just thought, I'm a bit fed up of homework. I've done this for too many years, and got a series of boring office jobs, and then YouTube started.
Well, it sounds like you've been doing some counselling of sorts anyway. Now, how have you seen YouTube change over the 3-4 years you've been using it?
YouTube's biggest change has been its growth. if you can call that a change. It started off, as I'm sure you'll know, like little clips of people's babies being cute, which I know is what I do a lot of, and the classic dogs on a skateboard. And now it's an actual place where not just girls that want to make you feel happy about yourself, but like filmmakers are making short films. There's nothing you can't learn. The other day, I learned how to change my Hoover bag from YouTube. It's amazing. It's an amazing tool, and it's free. So you'd be a fool not to be using it. Even if you don't want to watch my videos, go and watch something on YouTube.
I love that changing a Hoover bag for you is like the pinnacle of YouTube's achievements. Now, if anyone ever looks at a video on YouTube, the worst place to look is when you scroll to the comments, and there's often like, I don't know, I think YouTube commenters are known for being some of the most vitriolic. And I wanted to ask if you've ever had any experience of negative comments on YouTube and how you've dealt with it.
Yes, of course, I definitely have. With the sheer volume of comments that I get, there's always going to be a percentage that are less than positive. And I view it in like a sickeningly nice way, really. Basically, what I think is happy people don't write unhappy comments. The people that are writing those comments are feeling a lot of really bad feelings. You don't know what's going on in their lives, but if they're like spewing out these like terrible emotions, like when they say awful things to you, it's because they're just doing a mirror image of how they feel. So rather than fighting back with them, like these people don't need more upset in their lives. Just delete them and sort of like, I just send a little quiet wish up to them and think, I hope you have a better day, you a-hole. And then I feel better. And you can block them as well so they can't comment again.
Are there things, I mean, you say you document a lot of the different parts of your life. Are there some things that you are completely off limits?
Yes. So I document almost all of my life. The only thing that I won't put on there is my marriage, because my husband is a school teacher, and I just think that, like, your marriage is precious, and I don't want to, like, give that to the world. And eventually, when my daughter grows up, if she says she doesn't want to do it, then I'm obviously not going to force her, because child labour is frowned upon, and, you know, I'm a nice mummy.
Generally frowned upon. Now, I want to see if anyone in the audience has any questions for Louise. I can't really see everybody, but is there anyone who's got a question? Oh, there we go. Do you want to come up? I think we might have to get you to speak into the... Maybe I'll give Tom the microphone so you don't have to come up. You don't have to come up.
Do you ever think that YouTube will be bigger than mainstream TV?
I think that YouTube will run alongside mainstream TV. I think that TV is not going anywhere because there will always be people that want to watch TV. But I think that more and more people are watching YouTube, and now that TVs, you can stream YouTube through them, I think it will just become as good as, if not better, than TV. But for now, while we've still got people like our parents and grandparents watching TV, I think they'll run along. But then one day, when we take over the world, YouTube will win.
Has anyone got any other questions? Have we got a question here? Can I get the mic over here?
Hey.
Hey.
Nice. I was wondering, do you have any advice for someone who wanting to start their own successful YouTube channel?
Yes. Do you already have a channel, or are you thinking about it?
Yeah, no, I have one, but like I get no views.
What's it called?
Well, first of all, nobody starts with 1 million views. You have to really stick at it, and my advice, it's really like pretty basic, but it's just keep going, because eventually you'll get your Kathy from Germany and you'll be on a roll. But also support it. Make sure you have Twitter, make sure you have Facebook, tell people about it, be proud of it. For a long time I didn't tell anyone about my channel because I was like, oh, this is really embarrassing, but sometimes I talk about makeup that I buy. But now I'm really proud of it. So whatever you're making, I mean, say what your channel name is now, and you can all go and check him out.
All right, it's Cartoon Natty.
Cartoon what?
Natty.
Natty.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Natty.
Well, there you go.
Cartoon Natty. Go and find him and say hello to him. You've got your Kathy. Well done.
Have we got any other questions? Oh, there's one over there. It's great. Just send Tom. Like.
Fun.
How many years did it take for your channel to actually become something that you lived off?
That's a really subjective question, actually, because it depends what you class as living off. But it became a point that I didn't have to go back to employment in 2012. And my plan was to go back to part-time office work, which is not you don't earn a great deal from it, but I was like, no, this is the equivalent of that, and that's perfect. But obviously, as time goes on, your salary, if that's what you want to call it, does rise. So it took a while. It took 2 years, and that was 2 years of like hard work. It wasn't like, meh, shall I? Maybe it was like, no, I will. I'm going to do it every single day. So be tenacious and don't give up. It's good training.
I think we've got time for one more question, and then I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up. So who?
Girl in the front, because she came up to me earlier.
Okay, we're going to go for this. We can chat to Louise afterwards. So,
what made you want to start your YouTube channel?
This is a good story, actually. Not many people ask what made me. So back in 2009, there was this girl called Lauren Luke. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of her. And there's someone nodding at the back. Yes. And she had a channel called Panacea 81, and that was about how to apply makeup, which is not quite what I do. And my dad rang me, actually, and said, oh, I saw this girl on a BBC Three documentary. You should check her out. And I was like, okay, then. So I had a look, and I was like, whoa. Well, I'm addicted now. And she said, please subscribe. And I was like, what, subscribe? I'm going to get an account. That sounds cool. And then watching her, I was like, I'm so doing this. And so in 2009, I actually made over 20 videos that I never put on the internet because I was like, I can't put those up. And one day I'll get them out of my garage and like potentially upload them. But it was somebody else. So I watched somebody else and thought, what you're doing is cool. I want to do that. And so I did. So if that's what you're thinking, do it because it's fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much,
Thanks
Louise,
for having
our
me.
final speaker.